Right, guys, I think it's 12, so I'm going to get started. I think we've got some people still joining. Carl, if you can just admit them as and when you see them, please. I'll keep an introduction short and sweet because no one wants to hear me rattling on, but just a massive thank you for taking the time to join us today. I've had no voice all weekend, talk about bad timing. I've got some of my voice back today, thankfully, but I'll keep the introduction short and sweet. Before we get started, I wanted to say how privileged we all are to work in an industry that is so willing to collaborate. Although we all work for different organisations and often have different ways of doing things, one of the things I've always appreciated about the legal cost profession is how generous people are with their knowledge, experience, and willingness to help others develop. And that's really the purpose of today. We've got an hour together. This isn't intended to be a formal presentation or training session. It's an opportunity for us to learn from one another by sharing the tips, tricks, shortcuts, and practical approaches we've discovered while using CostsMaster. I've only been using CostsMaster myself for around 5 months after using a bespoke system for 19 years, so I'm still very much on my own learning journey. In that relatively short time, however, I've picked up some incredibly useful ideas from colleagues and friends in the industry, and it's reminded me that some of the best learning comes from conversations like these rather than from manuals or training guides. Last count, we had 87 people sign up to this live clinic. So between us, we bring together a huge amount of collective experience. Some of you may have been using CostsMaster for years, while others might be newer to the system like myself. But whatever your level of experience, I would encourage you to get involved, ask questions, share your screen if you'd like to demonstrate something on the dummy file distributed, and contribute to the discussion. And what may feel like a simple tip to one person can be a real game changer for someone else. And this is most definitely a forum without judgment. I do hope everyone managed to successfully download the anonymised CostsMaster file, which should ease any concerns about disclosing any confidential information. If you haven't received it, if you put a message in the chat, then we can ping that over to you. We're also delighted to be joined by Alison from CostsMaster. I know she was struggling to get on. Carl, has she managed to get on yet?
No, I haven't seen an MOP yet.
Okay, she'll be with us shortly, but we can make a start without her anyway. Alison trained to be a cost draftsman in 1995. She's been a cost lawyer since 2010 and has been using CostsMaster since 2001. Alison has kindly given up her time to be with us today and will be on hand throughout the session to answer questions, provide clarification where needed, and offer insights from the CostsMaster team. My hope is that everyone leaves today having learned at least one new thing that saves them time or helps them get even more value from the system. And if you don't, then you've passed something on to your peers, and I thank you in advance for that. So thank you all for being here. Thanks in advance for your contributions, and let's make this a genuinely collaborative session. Given the number of attendees, I think it would be sensible to use the raise hand emoji when someone wishes to speak. We hope we can then give you access to share your screen, which you can do by clicking the share icon at the bottom of the screen. The chat is also enabled, so please feel free to raise questions and contribute in there too. This session is for everyone. We can keep the structure quite loose, but I thought if we spend like at least the first half of this session sharing practical tips, and then if anyone has any particular questions for Alison, she'd be delighted to answer and perhaps share her own tips, but we can play it by ear. I'm happy to take the plunge and kick off with a tip. Again, it might be straightforward to you, but they're only straightforward if you know them. So let's see if I can effectively share my screen. Here we go. Okay, can we all see that? So one of the tips that I would like to share and that I use quite often is the bulk changing. And I'm sure there are a couple of different ways of doing this. But with reference to the dummy file, you can see that there is a split between part one and part two work. I then want to change some of the part two work to part one. Now, little old me in my first week of CostsMaster went through and manually amended each entry. However, there is a much easier way by making sure your multi-select mode is selected, Control and Shift, select your items, change your proposed part at the bottom back to part one, apply to all selected items, and it's just a much quicker way of doing things. Another thing that I've found really useful is remembering to save my local settings. To do that, you can go to Tools and Backup Settings. This will save them to a zip file. You can then save the zip file to a location, and to restore the settings, you simply click this button here and you will never lose all your abbreviations again, which I have done, speaking from experience. And my last point before my voice goes, I don't really need to demonstrate this on screen, but the use of Chat GPT. I was stuck as to how to do something. I was too lazy to read the manual, and I knew CostsMaster most likely had the capabilities to do it. So I plugged it into ChatGPT and it helpfully guided me. Now, I'd love to give my voice a rest. So if someone is happy to share their tips, I would be eternally grateful. So over to you guys. Have we got anyone with the hand up? Oh, Tom, thank you.
Bear with me, Tom, while I get here.
Right, I think I should. Can you hear me? Yes, nice one. I've used CostsMaster for quite a while, and the less I can use my mouse, the better with it. So, big fan of pending work, and one of the big things that helped me, and I sort of help other people with, is numbering parties. I'm not going to share my screen because I think it's relatively straightforward. But whenever you create a party, I always give them a number. And so then when I get to that end column in like the location setting in pending work, I just press the number, and I have a strange memory where I can remember certain numbers relating to certain parties. So like the claimant is generally number one, defendant's number two, court will be three, or maybe counsel, court four. And go through like that. And that for me massively helps. So then it saves you if you are typing, I don't know, an expert, or you've got a few doctors or things like that in your parties, using the number massively helps because you know that number, say 20, for example, is the doctor or the medical expert that you need. That for me is dead good tip and just saves it. But then obviously just before you export, you've just got to go into your CostsMaster and delete the numbers so they don't show up in your bill of costs. It's not the end of the world if they do, but it just tidies it up, doesn't it? Just to make it look good. The other thing that I massively like is yeah, especially if you're doing budgets or precs, and you can see when you look on the cost budgets or tab, you can see that there's some work in unassigned. You don't quite know it's there. You think you've given everything a phase, and you can sort by the columns. So I think it's control and just left click on the relevant column, generally the phase column, and it sorts it all into alphabetical order in those phases. So then straight away you just go to the bottom and you can see what is unassigned, and you can stick it in the relevant phase straight away. And that for me is a massive help. It's same for phase, tasks, activities, do that. And you can solve any problems. Good little check-in system.
Thanks, Tom. That's great. Yeah, that was one of the first things you taught me on CostsMaster, the numbering of the parties, and it's been really helpful. But I've not got as good as memory as you. You can remember like 100 numbers off the top of your head, and I really can't do that. But thank you very much. Would anyone else like to share any tips? Chloe.
Hi. So when I was speaking to Sam about some of the tips that I've got, some of mine are a little bit longer. So if I'm boring you, please just let me know. I am going to share my screen because I think it's probably more practical to show you. But following on from what Tom said, I'm also very much a fan of the codes within the pending work screen. Sorry, I can't share my screen. Is there a way to do that? Oh, there we go. I've got it. Okay. There we go. So can you see the screen now?
Yes, we can see your shortcuts.
So I'm not going to go through all of these because there's a much better use of our time. But I am going to send this out to Sam if she wants to send it around to everyone. These are basically, this little column here is simply if you don't want to use your mouse, like Tom says, you can use all these shortcuts to open your different screens. So for example, we'll just go through the first one. Alt-D opens your, well, it does if it opens on the right screen. Let me just find out where that's gone. 1 second. There we go. So as you can see, that shows up there. There's loads of these, like I say, not going to go through them all. And then also in your pending work screen, under activity, these are the codes that you can type into the box instead of having to do the drag down menu each time. That's the same here for your location code. I know all these off the top of my head now from doing the ACL, but I appreciate that it's not as easy as memorizing them all. But once you've done it for a few files, I think you'll find the standard ones like your letters out or your communications with council client will be in your head, and you can then fill in an entire row when you've got your abbreviations in about a second. So that's the first one that I definitely do. On to some more practical tips for actually when we're doing negs and things like that. One of the best things I use, and to be honest, I'm not going to act like any of these tips are mine originally. I stole these from everyone else in my department. But when you are drafting the bill, now I recommend doing it in the pending when you're doing your drafting originally, but obviously if you want to do it in the document screen when you are negotiating, so be it. But I think it's probably best to do it while you are drafting and the file's on your mind. If you go on your column settings, your grid settings, and you choose, sorry, everything's showing up on the wrong screen, and you go down and click recoverability and apply that, it shows up here, and you can add in what recoverability you think for every entry. Like I say, so obviously say if you think it's only 50% recoverable because the time is excessive, you just put 50% in there. Then when you're pulling it through to your document screen, for example, and let me just also put it on this screen. What you can do then is, I'll apply it to a few of these. Say, for example, this is a 50% and this is a 50%. As you can see, our current bill in fully claimed as it should be, the profit costs are 1,990. But if you go on this little tab here and click percentage recovery, it actually shows you the recoverable bill, what you think of assessed. So basically, if you're doing a line by line assessment, you could go through your entire bill and it'll give you the sum instead of having to do it in something like Excel, which obviously I'm not very good at Excel. I'm much better at CostsMaster. So then you got your assessed bill and you can compare that against your pods or the defendant's offer. I think that's probably one of the best tips when it comes to negotiations. And then the last tip I'll show you, again, please let me know if I'm boring you, is the filtering. I think, especially when drafting, it is so much quicker to filter everything. So, for example, if you want to deal with all your standard letters out or your standard calls out, you can click this little filter tool here and type in 006. Again, this is all going to be stuff that you already know, but just if it does make things quicker for you. And then as Sam explained, you can then obviously assign them all a party or a location, like in a group, like she showed you. But what I think a lot of people don't know how to use is the double layering of filters. So if you click this little filter tool in the bottom, what you can do is you can add your filters. So say, for example, all work in a part needs to be added after a certain date needs to be added to a certain part. You can go on dates, equals to and greater than, and you can do, let's say, the 14th of the 10th, 2021. And then you can apply that. And what it'll do is, hopefully, is everything after the 14th to 10th will be in that. It will be filtered for you. Now, what you can then do is if you need it to be a certain fee earner within that part, you can then layer the filters. So if you want to add in a fee earner, I know the name of these fee earners are Ant and Deck. So what we'll do is we'll add Ant McPartland. And then what you need to make sure that when you're doing this, you actually click on the join section, you click and, because if you do or, it'll only do one or the other. So if you click and then click apply, that'll show you just all of the work for Ant McPartland after the 14th to the 10th. So obviously then again, you can group assign things and it makes things a lot quicker when you are drafting. And yeah, I think those are probably my main tips of how to make your life a little bit easier.
Thank you so much, Chloe. That was really helpful. I've definitely learned something new there. So thank you. And thanks also for preparing that little sheet, which we can get circulated as well. So thanks so much for your work on that. Really appreciate it. Is there anyone else who would like to contribute?
I've put my hand up, but obviously because I've got control, I can jump straight in. Mine
Thanks.
is going to be nowhere near as good as what Chloe's list was, because that was brilliant. But one thing that I didn't know about was mileage in terms of putting that in. So if you're in a disbursement, all you have to do is put the actual number of miles and then shift enter, and then it will automatically work the mileage out for you, which is really helpful. And the other one is again with disbursements, if you put the total amount in the first box, so obviously you've got amount and then VAT, you can shift and enter and it will break the fee down between the total fee and the VAT. Or if you've got a fee in and you want to add the VAT, you just go in the VAT box and shift enter and it automatically calculates for you. So yeah, there are a couple of simple ones that are really, really useful for me.
That's great. Thanks, Carl. And they might be simple, but they all add up, don't they? And saving a lot of time. And they're only simple if you know them. So that's really great. Thank you for sharing those as well. Is there anyone else who wants to contribute? It is a safe space without judgment.
I can see a few hands up. So
Great.
Michelle, I'm gonna hand it over to you if you bear with me.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yes.
We can.
I don't know if I need to share my screen for this. This is just something very, very small because it was something I actually didn't know that I thought seemed really simple, but then I thought maybe other people don't know it. I was in the parts screen the other day, and if you are on, so when I don't know if it's best for me to share my screen or not. How do I do that? Can I do that easily, or is it?
Yep. So can you see the little share icon at the bottom?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm not used to Zoom anymore.
No.
So yeah, on the parts section here, if you right click
Oh,
here,
we can't actually see your screen at the moment. I don't know. Are you using two screens?
oh, can you not see it?
No.
Oh, 2 seconds. Is that better?
Yes, we can see it
Oh,
now.
great.
Thank you so much.
No, that's fine. So I didn't ever realize this before. It's probably something very small and stupid, but if you've got a million parts for some reason, you can just right click on the hourly rate and then do apply rate to subsequent parts, and it puts it in all the other parts. So, if you've got a bill with about 10 parts and you don't want to have to put all the rates in, I just literally discovered that last week and thought, oh, can't believe I didn't know that. And then one last one that I do that I quite like as well is, if I can find it, find and replace. If you just spelt someone's name wrong in a bill and it's really bugging you, and you can just literally search for it and then replace by, and you can do it all in a oneer and just replace that spelling throughout the whole bill or whatever it might be you need to replace. So they're just two very small things that I didn't know until recently. So,
Thank you very much. Again, I didn't know that first tip that you shared. So thank you so much.
yeah.
Again, I'm learning loads today. So thank you, everybody. Carl, is there any more people with the hands up?
Yes, we've got a few. Georgia, I'll fire it over to you. You're next on my list.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Oh, great. So I had a tip, but then I also wanted to ask if anyone had a solution for something as well after, if that's okay. So the tip that I live and die by are abbreviations. I use them for everything. I've got probably about 400 odd saved in there. Obviously, don't use them every time, but anytime I've got names in there, if there's a party that is quite frequently comes up in bills, comes up in files, sorry, I would add them as an abbreviation just so I can, if I'm typing out, I can add them there. I also add it for paragraphs in narratives or any sort of more variations of more routine entries, such as like arranging payments, anything like that. Really, I really recommend an abbreviation where you can, and it becomes second nature. Like I'll have them for Yorkshire Bank or Handelsbanken because I always spell that wrong no matter how many times I try. But then I just wondered, is there a way to stop the spell check from spell checking routine letters out or short calls and correspondence? It's particularly more relevant for imported ledgers where you've assigned it to a party and then your spell check pulls up all. It's not necessarily something you change because it's recorded as one unit out. And it always picks up like abbreviations that are in the time ledger that flag as sort of incorrect spelling. But I find that quite time consuming when I'm exporting a bill and I'm doing the spell check because I go through it all because I don't want to miss anything that's in the main body of the bill, but sometimes it's hard to decipher between the two. So I just wondered if anyone knew how to resolve that.
I'm sure Alison would be happy to answer that. But just going back to the abbreviations, yeah, thanks so much. That is definitely something I need to add to. I do use some abbreviations, but I'm nowhere near at the 400 level. So yeah, I definitely think that's something I can do more of. Carl, do we need to pass over to Alison? Oh, here we go. I think Chloe might have answered that. You can customize words in your dictionary in settings.
Well, what we'll do, if it's all right, we've got one more hand up, which is Jill. So if it's all right, we'll go to Jill
Perfect.
first, and then
Makes sense, yeah.
yeah,
Thanks, Carl.
Alison, if you could add that, add what Chloe's just mentioned to your list to go through as well, that would be really helpful. So yeah, if you bear with me 1 second, Jill.
So I've got a few bits I use which make looking at the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lines of text which we do on a daily basis a lot easier. So if I do a screen share, so if you go into your local settings, and go into fonts, you can then set up different background colours, different band colours. And I always have like a real contrast colour. So I can easily see what cell I'm in and on what line. And then with this one as well, if you go into your column settings, you can apply a different column style, like a different color, a different column font. So especially if there's one which you don't always need to look at, or you always need to know which one it is. I always find that's very useful for seeing if there's embedded disbursements. Because then you can go in, you can filter it, filter or sort it, and it's easy to see where you are with it without having to go into every single item. And whereas I'm not sure if most people are using the abbreviation section for, but what I find is, I find that in the abbreviations, it will sometimes cut off like the length of the item which I want to store. And what I've found is that if you go into your spellings, custom dictionary, and also corrections, this is where I set up my shortcuts, and then I'm able to press space after them rather than having to tab out of the cell and go back into it, and it automatically populates. It's easy to pick up an incorrect word though, so for some of them I'll have to make sure I purposefully misspell them, because otherwise it'll just do a find and replace job on all of them when you're exporting the build. And lastly, my tip is so piggybacking off of the earlier comment about having like the abbreviation set up for parties in the presets, I've gone through and added in parties which are either always in the bill, or ones which I can't necessarily spell, like handles banking. I always have to think about how to spell that one. So they're in there already, and then when you're typing them in the party screen, it will pull those through already.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jill. I had no idea you could change the colours, so that's really helpful. So thank you very much.
It makes it really easy to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Have we got anybody else who wants to share?
We've got Miss Turner.
Okay, fabulous.
There you go, Charlene.
Hello. The only one I wanted to add was more of a frustration and safety mechanism for anybody who's ever experienced losing work on CostsMaster. It's not CostsMaster's fault, it's ours. And it's basically very simple, but something that not everybody is aware of. And to be fair, I've been using CostsMaster for a long time, and I wasn't aware of it until I lost work. And so I'll just very quickly share my screen for anyone interested. It's a very small tip, not necessarily on how we draft bills, but just to make sure you don't lose them. And if I press share screen, hopefully, can you all see that? Yep.
Yeah.
Dead simple. As Jill has shown us before, if you go into your local settings, in your local settings, you have file locations. And in file locations, that will determine where all your cases auto-save to. If you make sure they're all populated, you should never lose your work in the event of a crash or system failure, or even, God forbid, a CostsMaster failure. I just thought I'd share that little nugget for anybody who's ever experienced that frustration. Mainly because as well, Chloe, yours was brilliant, but you totally stole my sharing tip on the filtering, but you explained it so much better than I would. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks for sharing that, Charlene. There's nothing more frustrating than losing all your hard work. So thank you very much. Right. Anybody else? If there's nobody else, Carl, then perhaps it is an apt time to hand over to Alison, who will hopefully kindly answer the question raised and perhaps share her tips as well.
Perfect. Yeah.
Hello. I can't
Hello.
seem to start my video, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. So, not that you probably need to see me, but it would probably help. Right, I'm just trying again. No, failed to start camera. Let me just try something else, different camera. No, it doesn't want to know. I'm very sorry. I can't seem to get my camera. Well, there we are. It's using the wrong one. Right. So just try, see if it'll go to the other one so that I'm actually looking at you. No, you'll have to have my side view, I'm afraid. Technology, eh? Don't we love it? Right. Is that working now? Oh dear. Come on. Oh, there we go. Right, sorry. It's a funny angle, so I'm very sorry about that. Right, no, wrong way. So, right, I had earlier technical issues in that my link didn't work, or the link I had wasn't right. So I missed the absolute beginning of this. I came in at background settings. So I presume you did some filtering and things like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Been listening to all your tips. Fabulous. The double filtering. I haven't even thought about that for ages. That's a brilliant tip. Because I usually show people how to do the double filtering just in pending work or using two columns. But just picking up on some of the things that have been mentioned so far. Tom's are great, but what actually, if I share my screen and I'll pick up on, let me just get rid of, right, hopefully you can all see my screen now. Tom's tip about the finding unassigned items, we've got a tool for that. He mentioned about filtering. So tools, attendance searches, search for unassigned budget phases, tasks, and activities, and they will come up in a separate grid, and you can deal with those there. And the other thing, I thought he'd pinch my one about the function keys. So I got the feeling that you mentioned that you'd put a number in the description column. You've got your shortcut, and that will work. So, for example, in your pending work, if you let me scroll down to where you've got no parties. So this one that's highlighted, okay, that would actually be a documents item, but let me go up one. So if I hit F2, that's automatically put the defendant in. So if I were to then filter anything with defendant, and then filter here, perhaps letter 2, a standard letter 2, :06. So that's got all my standard letters. I can highlight all of those using select all items, Control-Shift-Q, and then I could just go F2, and that will put all of those in there. While I've got those open, I can change my rate type. So I can either do that, nope, not in there. Proposed party, we've got proposed location. I could do that with this one. So party work, standard letters. Oh, there's a letter to council, re the defendant. So we don't want that one. So that's, if I just highlight the ones I want with my control key and those, and my proposed location, party work. Actually, they're all going to be party work, aren't they? Is where I haven't looked at the spreadsheet very carefully. So let me just do all of those standard letters out. So apply that to all of those, and we'll just change that one to council with that little arrow. It'll just won't do it for everything. It just do that one. And also change your rate type. So again, I'll just highlight them all, go into, this is the other way of applying things. You can highlight everything. You can go into your edit, Control-Shift-E, and that will bring up your edit pending attendances. It will have 6 items. The cells that are populated will be where there's the common information, but I can go in here and I can change my rate type to letter out. Okay, so of course they've now all disappeared because I've got 6 minutes there. So if I change that to 1, that's brought those back. And it's also picked up the defendants, a couple of other entries which have got a 1 in because they're a longer telephone call. But we can make use of different elements there with the multi-filtering into this grid. The other thing I wanted to mention, the codes as well. That one, been pinched, was on my list. The shift and enter. So it's mileage, which has been mentioned. And on that note, with the recent change where it's gone up, if you want to go in and make that change, so options, local settings, and then it auto insert text, and you can just change your new mileage rate there. You can always tweak the wording. If you don't like the default wording, you can make that change there. Also with the shift and enter, not only with adding VAT, if you want to take VAT out of something, you keep your cursor in the amount cell. So if I were to create one here, so my rubbish there, and so if I've got £100, if I do the shift and enter while I'm in amount, it will take it out of that amount. If I do it when I'm in the VAT column, shift and enter, it will add it to that amount. Also, one of the biggest helps, we've had a rates tip which is really good, is when you want to put a rate in, do your shift and enter so it populates the whole row, because we have come across instances where like in cost budgets, a rate has been, or a fee earner has been duplicated because you haven't filled in hasn't filled in a rate type. Because having looked at a spreadsheet, they thought, well, there are no emails or anything like that. I'm not going to bother putting that rate in. And then it actually turns out there is an email. So, so always, for the sake of doing a shift and enter, complete your whole row. Also, with your presets have possibly been mentioned here. If you do any legal aid work, really use your presets for your rates, and then you can just apply them as you go. You don't have to keep finding what these awfully random rates are that the LAA do. But also you can do, let me just turn that down, somebody's persistent. You can also add in inter partes. I've never really sort of thought it was worthwhile doing, because you've got the shift and enter option with that. But if you perhaps use just guideline rates for certain things, you could put the guideline rates in, something like that, and then they're there for you to apply. Also, when you're doing your presets, you don't have to make a special journey, as it were, to your options, local settings, presets. If you pop the rate in, presets, add current rates to presets, and you can give it a name so you can find it, and it'll be there for future files. What else was I going to say on some of these things that have come up?
Yeah, Alison, there has actually been a couple of questions in the chat.
Yes, I was going to go into questions.
Yeah,
so yes, please.
Perfect, thank you. Jill, I think yours might have been answered, but please shout if not. Sam, I know you raised a question about, are there any shortcuts on LA activity column in pending work?
Shortcuts on, so yes, right. So these are options. I'm not in showing my legal aid features. So, because I noticed the file that Sam has sent was in all features. So one of the biggest tips is to hide everything you don't need. So I instantly put it into show only inter partes features. So of course, now I want to show something that's legal aid. I just want to open up show all features, and it'll be there. So options, abbreviations, and legal aid codes. So auto codes, and it is, which one am I looking for? Auto info. Knew there was going to be a question, was getting me on the hop now. There is one. I'm just trying to find where have I put it?
We can always follow up after.
Yeah, it is, because we've had this recently, and so my brain is mentally doing the old Rolodex thing. And it is where is it? I'm going to have to follow up, because I don't want to waste everybody's time.
No, that's absolutely fine. Thank you.
So it's where legal aid activity in pending work, shortcuts, abbreviations. Right. I'm sure one of you possibly has it at the tip of your finger, and I'm the one who's gone blank.
No,
any other questions, which I hope will be better?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There was a question from Michelle on civil legal aid bills. Is there a way to change the enhancement claimed all in one go, where the enhancement isn't claimed on all items?
So civil legal aid enhancement, way to change what? Sorry?
Is there a way to change the enhancement claimed all in one go, where the enhancement isn't claimed on all items?
All in one go. Oh, that's an interesting one. I'm wondering. Bear with.
Carl, I can see Michelle's got her hand up. I don't know if it's maybe good to pass over to her so she can.
Yeah,
Right, let me go on. Let me find a CCMS. Right, so if you've already got whoop, what happened there?
Sorry, Alison, that was me. I'm just gonna let Michelle ask a question, then I'll
Yes, certainly.
you reshare again. So Michelle will
Okay.
be able to jump on.
Thank you. Hi, Alison. I didn't know if I'd worded it very well. So what I meant was, obviously, I know you can change the enhancement on a whole part in one go. But often when we do legal aid bills, we'll be claiming, say, 100% enhancement. But that's not on all items because some items don't qualify for an enhancement. And then you might agree to an enhancement of 80%. And I find myself having to go through each item sometimes and trying to change it.
Right.
Because you can't just apply it to all items in that part. So I just wondered if there was a quick workaround for how to change the enhancement that's been claimed on those items.
So if the LAA have come back to you and said you can't have 100 on that, but you can on some things, but not others.
Exactly, yeah.
Alison, I'll give you back controls.
Okay.
Share your screen
right.
again.
Okay. Right. Let's share again then. Whoops. So let's have a look. We could filter. So obviously I've got, if I were to, okay, let's set up a part. So I'm in part 1. Let's chuck 100%. Where's my enhancement? There it is. So if we were to pop 100 in there. Helps if you actually apply it, Alison. Oh, that's because it's all on routine telephone calls there. Where's my, here we go, 115. So you could filter it. No, you couldn't, because then it's going to pick up the, Don't think there is an easy way off the top of my head. I might have to sort of properly think about that one. I'm not doing very well here, are we?
No, not at all. I mean, we don't want to put you on the spot, and if we give you an answer once you've had a chance to go look at it, then that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's one of those. Sorry, not doing too good here. So right, okay. Do I dare say any other questions, or do I or another couple of other tips that maybe we can
we've just had a question from Georgia. Is there a way to stop the spell check from checking routine letters or calls of one unit, particularly in relation to imported ledgers?
Spell check on, so let's have a think. So in your spelling, let's have a look. No, that's only Fiona's pending work. Parties. No, you'd probably want it on parties, wouldn't you? No. Don't think there is, to be honest. So, yeah. No, sorry, I don't think there is on that one.
Okay.
That's not something that I think, that's come up, if anything like that, just give us a call on support, and we'll put our heads together and see if there's a way we can come up with. I mean, something like the spelling is an element of the program that is bought in. So it may be that we can't do anything with it. It may be that we can. So it's always one of those things of just ask us and we will see if we can answer, do something about it. or if it is something that we can fix or amend, then we will add it to our the wish list that we have, that where users have said, wish it would do this. We will do our best to add it to that list and get it into CostsMaster for you.
Fantastic.
So let me just find, making notes, frantically making notes here. So spell check, routine items. So yeah, I might want an example of that one if you can. If you can drop me a line, alison@costmaster.co.uk, with an example, and then I can take it to technical, and we'll see what we can come up with for you. So one of the other things that I just wanted to mention, I don't think I'm going to have time to bang on my pet thing about program templates, whether any of you use those, which really will help you. But just as a quick thing in grids, a lot of people don't know that. Oh, I'm in the wrong file. Let me go back to Sam's file. Where is it there? There we are. Whichever grid you're in, this little cell at the top above the numbers and to the left of what is usually dates, if you left click on there, it will tell you all the possible columns that you can have in that grid. Just put that back. So you'll see some here are hidden, and then if you are in show particular features, they might be disabled. So legal aid ones might be disabled, that sort of thing. So if you think that you should be able to put some information in a grid that you can't, have a look here, see if it's perhaps disabled or hidden, and then adjust column visibility will take you straight to your grid settings, where you can apply it, tick it and apply it, or get rid of it if you don't want to be seeing that. The other thing I wanted to mention, I've mentioned about the inter-parties features. The other thing, the recoverability one was a great one, but you don't have to put 0, 50 or 100. The whole point of the recoverability column is you can put a different amount. So you could put something like 80% or 70%. The properties, the green, the red and the yellow circles are if it is sort of 0, 50 or 100. So you can just go straight into the property column and change that to one of those. But if you want it to be a little bit more refined, then really do make use of that recoverability column and do 33% or 40%, something like that. And that will also then in your control center, you've got percentage recovery at the bottom there. So that will look at that one rather than just the properties. One other thing about properties, you can filter on properties as well. And say, for example, you've got some items that you want to draw attention to. You've got a query about something like that. You can do, and you've got several parts in your bill. What you can do is in your control center, you want to show work from all parts. Once it's all obviously passed over, show work from all parts, and then you'll show all attendances within the part. So that will have all the work from all the different locations, from all the parts, and then you can filter on the property, the draw attention to property, something like that. And then once you've done that, you can then, so it's the same in all your grids, save the contents of the grid as a CSV or XML, so it'll be generally a CSV, and you can then have a spreadsheet. So let me just say, for example, in this one, so if I'm going to just apply a property to all of them. So to give you the example, so my draw attention, so you can see that's there. So I could then filter take that filter off, and that one, and go to my property. So that would have just picked up all of those, highlight all of that grid, and then I can, I don't need to highlight all of my grid. I just want to go to my save as an external CSV. It will come up with a folder of where do you want to save it. You can give it a name, and then that will be saved as a separate spreadsheet for all the items that you've drawn attention to. And that way you don't potentially have to go through, the fee earner doesn't have to go through all the files, all of the bill to locate them, and you can just say these are the ones I need to some input on, perhaps. You can also make use of your notes. Let me just this is quite big, this, so let me get rid of some of it. So notes. So if you've got a note on a particular matter, take me out of that, you can click on notes or Control-Shift-O, and you can put a note which will then appear in any draft if you ask CostsMaster on the export wizard to do it. And if you've got a private note which will not appear in any document that you export, you can pop a private note, and then that will just stay within the CostsMaster app for you to see, or any other draftsman to see. But if you've got a query that's got to go to the fee earner for it to be checked, then it would only show that top one, because that's not a private note. And of course, there's always your scratch pad, which you can put notes on, which is really helpful if you might be sharing a file, you're going on holiday, something like that. And the moment you open a file, that will pop up, and whoever's doing that will see.
Great. I can see that being really useful if you've got a case going to detailed assessment.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
That's really good. I'm conscious of the time. I think we've got a couple more questions to wrap
certainly.
through. So we have got a question. Is there a way, when splitting an entry into routine items, using the split function in pending work, to pull down the narrative from the parent window into the child entries?
Yes.
Excellent.
So, right, she says yes, finally. Right, let's see if we can find an example. Or actually, if I use, because I know my way around my example, if that's all right. Right, so where's that gone? No, it helps if you actually have imported the file. I will have to go back to your one, sorry. Oh, there we go. So let's see if we can find one that's a bit longer. All nice and short. Let's to create one and add some extras in. Oh, import alias. I want to mention that. Non-telephone drafting statement. Let's chuck a few in here. Then we've had a long telephone call, letter to clients. Right, okay. So if we were to split that, so if I double click on it, and we've got that up. So there's a couple of ways of doing it. You can do it from here. So I could just highlight letter to client, split, and it pulls up the letter to client. You can cut and put that in if you want to, and then it will stay in the main description if you don't cut it, and then you can just perhaps delete what you don't want afterwards. But is that the point that you're after?
Does that answer the question? FM Taylor, sorry, I don't know if his name. Yeah, great,
Great
thank
stuff.
you.
Great stuff.
The next question from Amy, is there a way to draft the N260 so that it exports to split document time by rate on one line in the document schedule section? When I do it, I get one document entry per rate.
Right. Yes. Unfortunately, there's not. We've been asked about this for a lot, and we are working very hard to try and get it. I'm sure you'll appreciate that with spreadsheets, you've got different cells, different rows with different rates, and so on. It sounds like an easy fix, but I'm afraid it's not. So we are working on it. It is quite high on the list, obviously, after AI, which everybody's clamoring for. But yes, it's not possible at the moment. I'm sorry, but it hopefully is coming. So yes.
Right. Last question then, raised by Jill, going back to the notes. Is there a way to see all notes so they can be bulk allocated to private?
See all notes, right? Oh gosh, you are all coming up with some today, aren't you? I think the way I would possibly look at that might be, would I do it in part attendances? I'll have to just pop a note on. If you have a note, let me pop a note on one. Right. So sorry, gone quiet here thinking. Oh, that might be something that can go on the wish list, because I don't think that there is. There must be a way. Let me just have a think. Include notes. So just notes. No, I think it's designed to be read in, as a draft down the side of bill. So it's not designed to be exported separately. But that might be something. I'm going to understand all these notes afterwards. Export notes. I'll have to see if technical can add that to the list. The wish export notes only. Separate spreadsheet or something like that.
Great.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. There's so many things I want to mention, and
I know. The time's absolutely
yes,
flown.
time's up. Yeah.
But just to wrap up, then, thank you to everyone who has contributed and attended today. I think it's been a huge success. I'm definitely leaving having learned some new tips and things that will save me some time. Thank you, Alison, for sharing your vast knowledge and time. And also a big thanks to Carl at Peak, who has helped me make this happen. There's definitely room for some further collaboration in the cost industry, and hopefully this is only scratching the surface, and we hope to be able to host further events in the future. But yeah, this wouldn't have worked and has been so successful if everyone hadn't contributed. So thank you so much.
But is there going to be a way for me? I'm just finally getting a chance to look at all the chat, and there's some questions in here. So
Yeah, I think I've caught most of them, but hopefully we might be able to export that somehow.
Okay.
You will be able to have a play around with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
We'll let everybody
Happy
go and
to
get
answer
some.
anything.
Yeah.
Let everybody go and get some lunch. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it.